Good morning. I realize this is a Tuesday video, and but it's exciting for me to be able to bring you some updates from our annual meeting, which took place on Sunday night. And I wanted to give you some of those details for those of you that were not able to attend. And if you'd like to get the full meeting, you can order that from the church office. It's available for you on DVD. You'll get a full financial report that way, and you can add that to your annual report and get a good look at what happened over the last year. I want to report to you that we received 20 new members. Many of them came in to us by baptism this past year, so we're excited about that and thankful. We approved our 2021 budget, including our missions budget. It's really exciting that we're not going to have to lower our missionary budget at all because of your faithful giving. So all of our partners in the new year will be fully supported from our end, and we're thankful for that. Thank you for your faithfulness. Another thing that was really exciting is we had some surplus cash, actually, if you can believe that, after the last year. Again, because of your faithfulness in giving. And we voted to reduce our principal on our mortgage by another $100,000. So we're going to drop from $518,000 down to around $418,000, and we're making good dents in that debt from our recent renovation. So we're very thankful about that. We did our selection of officers as well, and our entire board from last year has continued into the new year, and we're thankful for those men, for their faithfulness, for their love for Christ, for their love for our church. And though we had some difficult times in the past year, we're unified and moving forward, and I'm just elated about the possibility of working with these men again. I shared a paradigm for the new year that I wanted to just share with you briefly. If you look at the DVD, you'll get all the details, but we have to think a little differently about moving into 2021. So I want to just give you a brief overview of what that was about and remind you of some basics. Number one, we have to remember that this is God's church, and Christ is the head of that church, and He knows what's going on, and we can trust Him. Number two, local churches can be reorganized and repeopled as God sees fit. You know, God is moving people around a little bit. God is moving some people to Calvary. He's moving some people away from Calvary. We need to be okay with that. Christ is the head of the church. He's the captain. He's the general. He's the commanding officer. He can move people around as He sees fit. And we need to just open our hands and say, okay, God, whoever you give to us, we're going to serve with. And whoever you move somewhere else, may they faithfully serve. So we're going to have some changes in the new year. We just have to be open and trusting the Father for these things. Number three, who we were and what we had in March is dead. Now, I really mean that. We've got to stop harking back to what we were in March and think about who we are right now. We have to move forward with the people that God has given to us. We have to move forward with the structure that we have. We have done a little bit of rearranging among our volunteers and so forth. We're doing that because we're attempting to function efficiently and practically, and in light of who we actually have available to us. And so please just keep that in mind. We're going to have to be in this new year who God has given us to be, and trust Him for that. I think that we're going to have to move forward like a church plant with a head start. In other words, we can't compare ourselves again to March of 2020. We're in a new place. If anything, I'd like us to get back to 2008. Now, some of you weren't here in 2008, but I'll tell you what, there was a spirit about our church in 2008 that we've lost over the last 12 years. A spirit that said, hey, we got to do this together. And when we looked for ushers, everybody was an usher. When we looked for greeters, everybody was a greeter. And rather than have everything assigned and organized and structured all perfectly, everybody just pitched in and did what needed to be done. We need to get back to that. And especially, we need to be thinking about that when it comes to evangelism and to reaching lost people in this community. I hope you'll get on board with that. Don't just be an attendee, be a servant and join us in this work. This is all going to have to be bathed in prayer. It's going to have to be nourished by the Word of God. It's going to require the right people to be on board with us. And I hope that you'll be one of those people to join us as we think about what that looks like to serve in this new year. We may have to have some hard conversations in the coming days. And I'll tell you, the reason for that is because we get kind of caught up in the consumer culture. We want what we want, and we want it when we want it. And we can't have everything that we once had right now. So sometimes we're just going to have to say no to some things that you might think are really great and a real wonderful opportunity. We're going to have to say no to some things. And that doesn't mean we can't try. It doesn't mean we're not open to new ideas. It does mean we have to remember the era that we're living in right now and be responsible to that. We don't need to do more, but we do need to be doing the right things. Our question is not how do we become a busier church. Our question is how do we make disciples to the glory of God. So as we think about those kinds of things, and I trust that you'll pray with us about those kind of things, we'll do all we can to that end. Now, we're going to need to get used to hybrid church. Hybrid church means that we are both an online community and an in-person community. Some of you that are watching this right now are a part of our in-person community. And some of you that are watching this are a part of our online community. You might think of Trevor as our connection pastor in that way. He connects both groups. We're going to have to think about those as equals. In other words, the online community is not secondary, is not second class. If you're a person who's watching this online rather than joining in person, I want you to know we're not thinking of you in a second class sort of way. You're part of us. And we are connected by way of these digital devices that can help us remain one body. We have to think about that not only on Sundays, but in terms of digital and virtual Bible studies, caring for one another through this digital community. There's some really neat stories of things that are going on in people's lives as they're connecting online. The hybrid church is the next normal. And we need to get used to that, be a part of that, and trust God to help us be one body in spite of our two different locations, so to speak, as we move into this new year. Well, biblically speaking, I think we know as God's people that the death of something is never really the end. We've had a death to some things, but for the Christian, we believe in resurrection. We believe that in the death of some things comes new life of other things. Except a grain of wheat fall in the ground and die, there can be no fruit. And we've had to say goodbye to some things. But that means that there may be new life coming to some things. And we are people of hope. We're people of God. The church has survived a lot of things in the last 2,000 years. And I'm very, very hopeful that Calvary Baptist Church can continue to make disciples to the glory of God, that we can connect one to another in appropriate ways, that will have biblical content in a relational context, and that will be the kind of people who are flourishing in life, growing, flourishing, helping, life-giving people to the community in which we live. So thanks for taking an extra few minutes to join us for this little update, and I trust that we'll see you on Friday with our new blog. Goodbye.